In this video we're going to look at the gradient. So before we get started, just a recap on how to do mathematics. Now number and copy the examples and ask your tutor or teacher if there are any steps that you do not understand. Number the questions. Unless you have the ability to get fit while watching someone else run, you must do the questions on your own before watching the answers. Then mark your answers. If it is incorrect, write down the corrections and make sure you understand where you went wrong. This will enable you to do better the next time you attempt a similar sum. Right, so if we're going to start here, we have 2 points and I have indicated them as x1 and y1, and here we have x2 and y2. So these just represent coordinates, they represent numbers. Now if I have a straight line going through these 2 points, we are actually more interested in the straight line, and what the gradient will tell me about the straight line is the steepness of the line. And in order to find the gradient, I can actually use any 2 points on the straight line. It will always give me the same answer. Now the gradient is equal to the change of y over the change of x. So the change of y is simply the difference between the two y coordinates, or the distance between them, and then the change of x similarly is just the distance or the difference between the x values. So in other words, I can write it as gradient is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now it doesn't matter which coordinate I use first, so I could have said y1 minus y2 or x1 minus x2, as long as my coordinates correspond. So for example, if I go with y2 first, I have to say x2 first. So let's have a look at a few practical examples. Now for example 1, determine the gradient of the line that joins these 2 points. So we are simply going to use our gradient formula, and what I would personally just like to do is I normally just, if I have my 2 points, I immediately write them down on the paper underneath each other. This just helps me not to make any simple mistakes. So my gradient, which is change of y over change of x. Now you don't always have to write that, it's just something that I do. And then you say, so y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that formula is important to write. And then I just substitute. So the reason why I write it underneath each other, because then the substitution goes much smoother. So I just say, okay, y2, let's say minus 6 minus 2, so minus 6 minus 2 over 10 minus negative 3, so 10 minus negative 3. And that's another reason why we want to be careful, is because of these signs. See, that's already a negative, so when you substitute it in, make sure that you have minus the number, which is a negative now, then you have to put it in brackets. Alright, and then we just simplify that. You can, at this stage, type it in the calculator just like that, or you can just continue and simplify it. This is minus 8, and then that is, this becomes 10 plus 3, so this is then over 13. So that's my answer for the first example. Right, then for question 1.1, determine the gradient of the line that joins the points of E and F. So once again, the first thing I do, I write E is 5 and 6, and F is 4 and 2. Okay, so my gradient, which is change of y or over change of x, and then I substitute in my points. So 6 minus 2 over 5 minus 4, and this gives me 4 over 1, and that's just equal to 4. Question 1.2, here we have to determine the gradient for the line that joins points C and D. C, which is minus 3, minus 4, and D is 0 and 2. So gradient, which is change of y over change of x, we substitute in our point, so that's minus 4 minus 2 over minus 3 minus 0. And then we have minus 6 over minus 3, and that gives us positive 2. And then question 1.3, we need to determine the gradient for x, y. So we've got x as minus 5 and 5, and y as 3 and minus 7. So gradient being y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We got the y values 5 minus negative 7. So 5 minus negative 7 over minus 5 minus 3. So this becomes 5 plus 7, and that's equal to 12. And then minus 5 minus another 3 is minus 8. Now I can simplify this further by dividing top and bottom with 4. So 4 goes in there 3 times, and in the 8 2 times. So this answer is then negative 3 over 2.